If I unplug this. So, what is language? I heard that it, from the recent video I put up, it has to do with a set of symbols and rules. Symbols. What is a symbol? Symbol. Whoa. What happened?
You want to ask Brian question about the Bible? You ask Brian. You don't ask me. Okay. But I did not pay attention in Sunday school. I was a bad student in Sunday school when I went to Sunday school. But evidently, I hear, and I've since read, that in the Bible, it does reference that John the Baptist and Elijah, is that right, Brian? Elijah, the prophet Elijah.
Yes. Right.
So were the same soul and reincarnated. Elijah was reincarnated as John the Baptist. Well, we now know that John the Baptist reincarnated as Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he's have had other lifetimes too. But for the sake of this discussion, those are the relevant, the three relevant lifetimes that Maharishi had. So you can see that there's starting to be a, we'll call it from your standpoint, the audience standpoint, hearing about this 30th November talk, there you can see the players are starting to line up in terms of their roles in the download, we'll call it, we'll just use 21st century language, the download to humanity over the last 7,000 to 10,000 years of the Judeo-Christian Islamic Vedic traditions. So you got Vedic people in here. You got Shankara, who was Vyasa, who wrote the Mahabharata in the Bhagavad Gita and so forth, from which much of the Hindu and so forth and Buddhist, etc., teachings come from. And then you have Elijah and John the Baptist, Jesus, etc. Okay, and now Jehovah enters the scene also, and Maharishi's teacher, who he calls Guru Dev. So I want to define this term to you because George does not get into this in his talk. So I want to give you a sense of this for clarity purposes, you, the audience here, because George mentions the name Guru Dev. Those of you who understand Hindi or Sanskrit Guru just means teacher. That's all that means, right? And Dev just means like, exalted one, or it's a sign of respect is what it is. So it really, in plain English, we would translate it in plain colloquial American English. We just say, great teacher. Oh, my great teacher. It's an honorific, it's a respectful term, Gurudev. So if those of you who have had any other Indian teachers in your spiritual journey, we'll hear them calling their teachers Gurudev. Okay, so Gurudev is not a name. It's more of a sign of respect. Okay, George is using it more as a name in his 30th November talk because all of us who came out of the TM teaching knew him as Gurudev because Maharishi always talked about his teacher as Gurudev. So George is using it in that way. So there's no confusion there. His actual name, that person's, Maharishi's teacher's actual name was Swami Brahmananda Saraswati. Okay, so Swami is a title. Brahmananda Saraswati. He was a very, we'll just say, a very high level, you could say, high exalted, respected teacher in the Hindu tradition, in the Hindu Vedic tradition in India. He died in 1953. But that's just a clarification of term. When you hear that Gurudev, he's specifically talking about that person. So you got these players. I've laid out a few of the players, and then there's some others there that George will talk about. I want to define another term for you, however, that he uses, that it's good for you to understand what this term means. George in his talk uses this term, holy tradition. Holy tradition, got to understand, coming out of any Vedic kind of guru teaching, whether it's the TM organization or some other organization, other gurus teaching or whatever, is a term that's used just as a respectful term of the lineage. It's a reference to the lineage of teachers before, and we give respect to the teachers before. That's the idea. That's the thinking with the holy tradition. So, I mean, I know within in the Christian, Judeo-Christian world, you hear the word holy, and it tends to have a certain, carry a certain kind of religious kind of connotation to it. And I understand that, but in the Vedic tradition, it more means it's this respect to the lineage of teachers, okay? So those are basically all the gurus who led up to Shankara is what is being referred to as the holy tradition. And they had a meeting on the other side when Maharishi Mahesh Yogi died. So let me give you a little bit of this picture. Okay, so George gets into this a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit more detail here. So again, I'm kind of just giving you, not talking about George's talk so much. I'm giving you more context so you have a place in which to place all of these ideas that he's going to talk about. Okay, so as I said, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi died February 2008. When Maharishi died, okay, this is not in the talk, but I'm going to share with you because Maharishi has come to me since this, he's come to me before he died. Actually, I had an experience with him telepathically before he died. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but some of you don't know, I was an international leader in the TM organization in the 1970s. I was a national leader of the TM organization in Hong Kong. I coordinated 8 countries in Asia when I was in my early 20s. And I taught meditation, as Brian said, in the US Army and Korea and so forth and so on. So I have a history with Maharishi, is my point. And I've spent alone time with him one-on-one in the room physically when he was in a biological body in the 1970s, many times. Been in a room with him with 25, 30, 100, 150 people, probably 1,000 times. So I've had a lot of contact with him before all of this. And then I've had contact with him since he died as well. So here's what he told us, and he's told me, and he showed me kind of the picture of what happened. When he died in 2008, he pretty much thought he was enlightened. So those of you who know anything about spirituality, you hear this term enlightened. What does in the Vedic tradition, enlightened means you are perfect. You have reached the goal of growth, of personal growth. And you are perfect. Everything you do is right. You know everything. It's just perfect perfection. Okay? That's the belief system about this idea of enlightenment. Okay, whether you're Buddhist, Vedic, remember Buddhism comes out of the Vedic tradition. I'm just referring to it as the Vedic view. Okay. Well, George is a little bit more, this is George's personality. He's a little bit more indirect. I'm a little bit more direct. He's a little bit more indirect. He says Maharishi thought he had at least a 50-50 chance, thought he had at least a 50-50 chance of being enlightened. Now, Maharishi thought he was enlightened. All right. Maharishi thought, no, this is it. This is it. I'm off the wheel of karma. You know, there's a phrase that they use in the Vedic tradition. I'm off the wheel of karma. I don't have to come back anymore. That's it. You know, everything I've been doing all these lifetimes before, and now this one, and You know, I thought millions. I'm responsible for millions and millions of people learning TM alone. Never mind other kinds of meditation, but transcendental meditation alone. Millions and millions of people. There were 20 to 40,000 people a month were learning in the U.S. when I was teaching in the 1970s. A month, every month. It was crazy. All right, so Maharishi thought, I'm enlightened this time. And he dies. He biologically dies. Again, we know from other talks with Brian and other people he's had on this show, we don't die. Our soul continues. But our physical, biological body, it dies. So that died. That part of Maharishi died, all right? And now he's on the other side. And the way I describe it, and you guys kind of can get at my personality, even if you're just watching this for the first time. I'm kind of an informal guy. So it's like Marshy's sitting there and he's like, what happened? Still Marshy. I died. I can see my body down there and I'm still here. I didn't merge. That's the idea with enlightenment, you see, is that if you physically, biologically die and you are spiritually, this is the belief system in the Vedic system, you're spiritually, mentally perfect, you've worked everything out, you're perfect now. The belief system is that you merge, your consciousness merges with the ocean, the big cosmic soup that I call it, big cosmic soup. You lose your individuality. That is the belief system. You exist no more as an individual. All right? So sometimes, actually, you and I talked about this briefly on a previous session, Brian. The idea of a water molecule merging with the ocean, I think is not a bad analogy. But you got to understand the analogy. The water molecule still retains itself as a water molecule, even though it is part of this vast ocean of water molecules. Mm-hmm. So you could still feel connected with things. I do many times, I've had that experience thousands and thousands of times. I have it now all the time. And I'm still in a physical body, last I checked. Yeah. Otherwise we have a new Zoom feature here, but I don't think we do. The connection. So I've not lost my water molecule-ness, even though I get the connection. So I think it's a good analogy. It's the analogy is misunderstood. The analogy of the water molecule, rejoining with the ocean and so forth. It's not a bad analogy. It's misinterpreted. So the water molecule does not lose its individuality when it's connected with all other water molecules.
Hello?
It is not, right? It doesn't stop being a water molecule, right?
How are you?
So that's that's a point of clarification. You can interview other people on when they use that analogy, when they say, "Well,
How
we
are
merged."
you?